And of course, there's a shutter spring that allows it to move back and forth. There's an orientation to the spring. If you notice, the small tail of the spring is on the inside, and then the spring is wrapped around the long tail that's hooked under here, a section or a part of the waste bin. All you do to remove it is bend this tail down and it loops out, then remove the spring. The spring goes back on this way. Hopefully you can see that. And then the shutter, in order to be removed, has to be bent back and lifted right out. I just clean the shutter while I have a chance with a yellow toner cloth while it's in my hands, and try to minimize any toner on it. I'm going to put that aside as well. Okay, I don't need any of these tools anymore. I'm going to put them back in their position. Okay, these tools I don't necessarily need, but I'll keep them out. And of course I need the screwdriver. I'm going to remove now the the wiper blade. Just unscrewing the two screws. In this case with a 12A, all the screws inside the cartridge itself are all the same. So you don't have to be worried about confusing the screws. I just choose to put the wiper blade screws back in the wiper blade spot. And here I'm pulling the wiper blade out. That's the wiper blade, and as I expected, the toner in the waste bin is built up on one side, which was probably the side that was rubbing against the drum. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that was the case. This is the gear side. And looking at the drum, the gear side's where I saw the wear. Not on the other side. So on the gear side, it looks like it was pressuring against it because it was overpacked with toner. It was putting pressure on the wiper blade. So I'm going to take the yellow toner cloth. I know people don't like to see this part, but I clean it off with the yellow toner cloth without touching the rubber. I'm not reusing the wiper blade, just showing you if I was reusing it, this is what I'd be doing to get it clean. Then from there, I'd be cleaning the rubber part off with a cotton swab and alcohol. But in this case, we're disposing of it. Sorry about that, just cleaning my hands a bit. Okay, in this case, I'm going to dump the toner in my dump station, so just give me one quick second. Okay, I'm back to preparing the waste side of this cartridge. I'm going to take a vacuum. Vacuum the inside. Being particularly careful of these sections to get any toner out of them. Vacuum the outside, the sides, and the cartridge itself in general. I will tap it a few times to loosen any toner that's stuck on inside of the waste hopper, and continue my vacuuming, letting the bristle do the work. Being very careful of the recovery blade. Okay, now looking at the cartridge itself, I'm looking at the recovery blade itself. I'm double checking to see if there's any wavers or marks in the recovery blade. It appears to be fine. I'm double checking the cradle to make sure there's no cracks in the PCR cradles or any damage, including the other non-contact cradle. You see? And I'm also looking at the actual felts to make sure the felts look fine. The recovery blade should be over top of the felt. Looks fine there. And looks fine on this side as well. So I'm going to begin to clean this cartridge, the waste hopper side. I start off with a Q-tip, 2 of them, and alcohol. I put alcohol on both Q-tips, and I start with the recovery blade, and I clean the outside of the recovery blade as best as possible. I also go underneath the blade to remove any toner underneath it. As you can see, flip it around and try to get as much toner off as possible. I take the same Q-tip and clean out the PCR cradles. Clean this area of the that makes contact with the gear side for the drum, and I also clean this area here. Now I go a little bit further than my cleaning process. I also take a facial swab with some alcohol on it and do some general cleaning on the cartridge. I seen a drop hit the cartridge there. Okay, it's inside. Sorry about that. Just give it a general cleaning, just to make sure overall it's relatively clean. Doesn't have to be spotless, but just trying to make it clean overall. I do see a small issue with the recovery blade. Looks like there's a bit of a buildup on it. Going to continue to clean that part of it. Okay, it looks like it's not there anymore. So I'm going to give it a general look over. Make sure there's no toner. I'm sorry, any fluff hanging onto the cartridge itself. Looks pretty good. Now I'm going to proceed to lube up the waste side using conductive grease. As you see, it appears like almost nothing's on there. That's exactly what you want on there, basically nothing. And we're going to put it inside the cradle. I don't know if you can see it that well there, so I'm going to try to do it this way. There's the cradle for the PCR. Basically that's it. I'm also going to put some on this section that makes contact with the drum. The drum pin there. There's electrical contact made there on that side, so you want to make sure that there's conductive grease there. Okay, so that's it for the conductive grease on the waste hopper.